let's move to our next presentation by Varadharaju Janardhanan, who is the Vice President HR with Flipkart. To give you a background, he's a seasoned global HR leader with more than 26 years of industry experience. He has worked in human capital development, spans large, structured, mature multinational corporations and global startups that are solving for scale. Currently, he is associated with Flipkart as Vice President HR. He has a triple master's degree in chemistry, HR and marketing management. He has currently received the Global Top 25 HR Influencer Award. Can we welcome him with a big round of applause, please?
Good afternoon, all of you. Yeah. So I think after a wonderful presentation, then standing here, it's always pretty challenging. So I think you rocked, Sunita. So I think, I'm not sure if she saw my deck. So pretty much what I want to really cover, I think she did a good prelude. Thank you so much. Thanks UBS and team for having me here. Fantastic topic, reimagine, recreate and redefine, and the topic given to me, like, I thought this is two topic by itself, business transformation and Agile HR. So let me just see how can I really do justice in 20 minutes. So what I just want to really set context is, in next 20 minutes, I will try to cover the why aspect of businesses, the business trying to really transform and how Agile HR is going to really support. That's a why aspect. And the second piece is what the need for Agile HR. So pretty much the what. The why and the what is what I would perhaps plan to really cover. So here is a storyboard that I just want to narrate today. So I said why, right? So why businesses have to really transform. So just want to really double click. Is there anything really changed either from the market or from the consumer behavior, right? So those two are an impetus for any company to get into a business transformation. So that's a why pretty much from the market standpoint. And second, a little bit of a curation definition of what is business transformation, right? And there are some researches done by HBR between 2016 to 2020, right? Let's take some good inspiration learning from that. And then most importantly, what are the key traits of these successful organizations who went through this business transformation? So this is again from the research standpoint. And then maybe we will get into deep dive into a little bit of one use case that I just want to really do, tying the market and also what organizations have really done. And then that would really take into the need for Agile HR. So that's a pretty much the narrative that I want to really give, right? Okay, moving on. What has really changed? I just want to really give a little bit of a sneak of the Indian consumer market. If you just look at from the online shoppers in India, 2019, the number was around like 100 million Indian online shoppers. As you really look at like 2021, it is almost like CAGR is about like 30-35%. It's close to about like 200 million. It's almost doubling, right? And what is projected is another 100% jump. It's going to about like 400-500 million users. So therefore, what has really changed? The funnel has kind of, it's become really, really big. And therefore, who are the, I would just say the consumers coming into the funnel? Traditionally, the online shopping funnel is broadly segmented into affluent customer and non-affluent customer, metro and tier 1, tier 2. Broadly this, right, when we really started. But as we really move forward, what research says is, when we go to like 5 years from now, pretty much 1/3 of the funnel would be pretty much occupied by the Gen Z. General definition of 18 to 25, right? So there, what would be their consumer behavior, right? The second piece is another 1/3 is going to really come from, not from metro or tier 1, but it's going to come from tier 2 and tier 3, right? And therefore, is the market changing? Pretty much, right? So now with this change in place, there is also a study done by the Gartner in terms of what really changed from the consumer behavior, right? Post-COVID. That's a very interesting study. These are these purchase behavior or the buying behavior. Not sure whether it is very clear, but these are the top bars. The bar 1, which really talks about they want to kind of engage more socially, social media engagement. That's a big driver, number one. Number two, there is increased preference on digital commerce. That's the second preference. The third is more about how brands proactively communicate with them, right? So that's a third. And fourth, their aversion towards risk. And again, on the price points, selection, all of this. If you look at it, it's a very interesting shift, right? The pretty much the consumer behavior is changing. The market is changing. The consumer behaviors are changing. And therefore, I don't think there is a choice left for an organization not to really transform. So far, good, right? Now, let's get into what are the successful business organizations who have really done this transformation. There's again a study I said by HBR. So this study is done from 2016 to 2020. About like 300 companies participated, of which about 128 companies, they kind of had the intent of business transformation, right? So they just touched that layer. When I speak about business transformation, it's not just the vector of financial metrics, but it's also the reputation metric. So the next layer, the subset of that is about 100 odd companies who successfully kind of pivoted the financial vector. What it really means by it's your top line, it's your EBITDA, it's your stakeholder, it's your share value, all of that. But the definition according to the HBR is, it's not just the financial vector that really matters, it's something beyond. What is that? The 28 companies, right? They transformed beyond their financial vector, it's also their reputation. Now the big question is, what are those traits, right? What do you all think? What do you think the traits these 28 companies demonstrate? Any guess? Wild guess. Sorry? Be quick, agile, okay? Innovation, agility, adoption, disruption. Oh, customer obsession, very nice. I think Sunita gave a lot of hints. I'm just leaking the paper, right? So you would really see very interesting finding. Here are the companies who did this, these business transformation, 28 companies, right? What did they really do? First and foremost, they had a shared purpose, right? Unless until why I really exist in an organization, right? I don't think like they would really move forward, right? They had a huge clarity on their vision, their mission, most importantly, the leadership commitment and alignment, right? So that's a pretty much the fundamental aspect, and they don't pivot around just profits. It's beyond that. That's the first pivot. The second, it's all about value creation. So be it your EVP or BVP or CVP. EVP is your employee value prop, BVP is your business value prop, and CVP is your customer value proposition. So it's important that people look in length and breadth of all of this. It's not like one over other, it's all of them collectively. But one feeds into another. Are we very clear? For example, in Flipkart, our EVP, that we made it very clear to our people and we started to live that. So what's our EVP is, together we dare to maximize. What are we maximizing? Either I won't really maximize the well-being, or I won't really maximize the learning, or when you come into Flipkart, we are here to maximize the impact that you want to really create. All of them. So therefore, there are constructs built around that, how your experiences are. So different people need different maximization. So you have to really articulate well that. Then comes your entrepreneurial inclusion, right? Those company, I think somebody said innovation, right? Either you innovate or you really perish, right? And it's that entrepreneurial inclusion. I think some of the fundamentals are you taking care of their wallets more than what is really required, so that they don't really worry about it and worry about how they can really transform the organization, right? And then it's your people centricity, right? The fundamentals of, right, is the organization is very empathetic, right? It's not about like, people say, right, not human being, it's about being human, right? Can the organization live those really values? And most important element is the trust is the bedrock of all, right? can we really start to really build? And then like diversity and inclusion. In fact, the research said that these companies, they had disproportionate percentage of men versus women, right? And it is beyond the gender, it is the other inclusions are there, right? And how equitable are they? That's very, very important. And finally, it's about network and collaboration, right? So these are the, if I really kind of cut the sphere, and these are the key DNAs that one need to really do. So this is what a successful business transformation key traits look like. Now the big question is, do you think HR can play a role in this? Yes, no? Right? It's pretty much culture, process, structure, right? So now let's kind of, any questions before I transition? So this is from till here, it's more of why. Why that companies have to transform, right? Okay. So let's do a quick use case, right? Let's say that there is a need to really solve problems, and how do I really become agile, right? Vinutha was touching about the agile mindset, driving agility and all of it, right? So here is a pretty much an agile pod where the teams coming together, right? They are loosely coupled but tightly aligned, right? So what's the definition of it? Let's say that I want to solve a X problem, that I want to get some people from technology, some people from business, some from the corp. They come together for a common purpose. They work on it. Once it is done, it gets dismantled and then they really move on. So you see like squads around it, and the big green chart, which is the bigger version is, which is more your chapters, and then you have guilds and all of this, right? So now, how we can really make it successful? Fundamentally, these agile pods are self-managed team. So if you want to make a self-managed team, what is really, really important is, are you kind of giving autonomy to this squads, right? How empowered are they? Are you really giving clarity on what you want to really achieve, right? And just leave it to them, right? And you don't have really mandate, you need a 2-week sprint or a 3-week sprint or a 1 week, but it would naturally evolve, right? So that's pretty much. Now the big question I have is, let's say that I want to do this problem solve a business problem. I'm formulating a pod which is loosely coupled and tightly aligned. Do you think by forming these structures, can we really solve or transform businesses? Yes, no? Yes? Yeah? Yes? Yes, no? Just this structure would help? What else? Non-sustainable. Why it is non-sustainable, sir? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So it's not just structure is going to really help you. Here are the key, I would just say, the challenges that one have to really address. If you don't address, you can have a fantastic Spotify model. You can have like every structure putting in. It would fail like nobody else. It's like South Africa royally beaten by Ireland, right? So that's the narration. So, so what's the first and foremost one is the fundamental definition of purpose. Lot of times when people come together in this loose structure but tightly aligned, is that they come for a 3-month period. I'm just taking an example, and then they go back to a different pod or a squad. I've seen it. The biggest pain point is the identity crisis. I don't know where I'm really belonging to, what I'm really doing. So you have to make it very clear, solve that identity crisis and define why. Why are we really doing this? And it's important that we are dealing with employees, and then make sure that you give them that runway, right? And then of course alignment ownership follows. Next comes is your structure, right? You have to do a status quo of the structure. Lot of times we are very comfortable with a traditional organogram, the structure which is just there. From there, like some organizations have gone hybrid, right? Which is neither here nor there. But there are very few companies who have actually gone agile, right? You have to do the organization readiness, right? What I mean by that is, let's say that I'm used in a certain pattern of, let's say the technology team works like this. Let's say there's an engineering organization, there's a product organization. Product runs horizontal, engineering organization runs vertical in a let's say in a startup organization, right? So now you want to really form a pod. There is nothing like an engineering. It would still be there, but they would really come back like there is few people from the from the prod and from the architect team, user experience, all of them coming together. But then you need to really kind of make sure that what it really means for them. What I'm trying to really sell is the next point on governance, the 𝗕𝗂𝗃 matrix. What is that I want to really do? What is that you want to hold me accountable for? What is that I'm responsible for? In a particular way of working, will I be informed on ABCD? What is the communication channel? All of these are extremely important. Make it very clear, communication. Bring that clarity and brevity to the whole process. Yep. And then of course careers, because people keep moving from one pod to another. It's important that you'll have to really manage their careers. When I say careers, starts with how do you want to really assess them? What are the development opportunities and how you want to really give their careers. Last but not the least is trust is the bedrock. So fundamentally what is here is it's about balancing act, right? Balance of doing things right, doing right things and doing things right and doing things faster. That's the key recipe for this. Okay. Now with all of this, now we have seen a case study, we have defined why, and therefore let's jump into the topic of Agile. Why HR have to really turn Agile, right? This again, I drew some inspiration from McKinsey research. So this is a model that they really recommended in terms of before you go like Agile, it's important that you have to align the top leadership in terms of what they want to really do, how they want to really do. So keep that alignment very clear, have that vision very clearly articulated, and then do a pilot, right? Do not boil the ocean. Do that pilot before you get to a blueprint, which is your operating model in place, right? And while doing, it's important that there is always like what worked before is not going to work next, right? So constant rewiring of your core processes, and also you'll have to build those capability accelerators. So those are very important element. And then with all of this, this is the Agile HR with whatever the 2 slides is going to really link. The thin fabric that's going to hold all of it is the culture, right? People say like culture will eat strategy for breakfast, not for breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever you can really call for. So the culture is your center, and then you have your structure, governance, career, and purpose, right? All of this, we play a very, very important role in all of this, okay? If you ask me, there is nothing right or nothing wrong. It's all about a trade-off that you want to really do. It's all about a trade-off, conscious trade-off, right? With this, I think she already hinted me the famous quote from Darwin. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptive to change that would really survive. Are you ready? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sujata from Infosys.
Yeah.
Lovely to hear the way in which you've kind of transitioned from all of whatever you've been doing in the last couple of years. My question is, you spoke about adaptability, and the last one was about how do we become adaptive to change. With ONDC coming up, the open network coming up in the next couple of years, probably.
Can you be
just
a little loud? Sorry, I'm not
ONDC
okay.
coming up in the next year or so, what kind of a strategy would Flipkart have to deal with culture changes, adoption and adaptability to such a massive change that we are all looking at?
I think this is a question for Leon, my CEO.
But you're talking about agility.
All right, okay. So I think it's not going to be, I will not do justice in terms of what's going to really change, but I would rather tell what has taken Flipkart here, right? It's fundamentally like there are three things which I would just say, there are a lot of things, but I would just take these three things which are pivotal for what Flipkart is today. Number one, extremely audacious, right? Sometimes when I really joined, I went into some of the QBRs, and then generally the growth charts for next quarters and subsequent quarter, I keep seeing like 100% growth rate, 200% growth rate. Sometimes I think like, are they insane, really? Because your CAGR says something like 20-25%, and they were very passionately really talking about 100% and 200%. But quickly I really realized that they really mean it and they achieve it. So what the mindset of taking those bold bets and challenging the status quo is the fundamental, I would just say, the recipe. Two, I'm not sure how many of you know, in the last 10 years, Flipkart would have produced more than 50 entrepreneurs to startup ecosystem, right? What that really means, unless until you have the culture of that somebody spoke about ownership mindset, right? I would call it as entrepreneurial mindset, right? So that is the culture, like anybody, right, who are leading a category or leading a project, they think that it's their baby, and they think like CEOs of the organization, and that's what is going to take them to the next leap. So entrepreneurial mindset. And third is very, very important, is beautiful balance between business priorities and people centricity, right? So these three, I would just say, my top of mind memory. If I have to do a recall, these are the three. Of course, your customer centricity. Whatever we really solve, somebody said customer obsession, right? Extremely customer obsessed organization. So whatever solution that you are really building, it truly would resonate for the customers that we are dealing now and also future. Making sure that organization is future ready. Did I answer? Fantastic. One last question.
No, we'll have yes. No?
I work with Sangeeta Mobiles. It's just been like 15 days I've joined this organization. So your presentation was amazing, Mr. Varadharajan. So I have a very simple question. What are the three things that HR does to make sure the customer behavior and work towards it? I mean, like any 3 pointers that you suggest to all of us that HR follows in Flipkart? The reason I'm asking, because we sail in the same boat. We also have a lot of blue-collar employees in our system. And yeah, I wanted to understand so that it will be helpful for us.
Yeah, I think I will just state what has changed for the business. Like the market has changed, and therefore the way of doing business changes, and therefore the talent we deal now also changes, right? So therefore what worked before is not going to work now. You said three things, right? Three things is learn, relearn, unlearn.